Story about a lazy cop and a jewel thief. Chapter 1. The Lazy Cop. Detective Jameson sat at his desk, sipping his coffee and staring blankly at the stack of files in front of him. He was a man in his late 40s, with a receding hairline and a paunchy stomach. He had been a detective for over 20 years, but he had never been what you would call a go-getter. Jameson was a lazy cop. He liked to take things easy, to do the minimum amount of work required to get by. He was not motivated by a desire to solve crimes or bring justice to the people. He was motivated by a desire to collect his paycheck and go home. Chapter 2. The Jewel Thief. Across town, a very different kind of person was at work. Her name was Sophia, and she was a jewel thief. Sophia was a woman in her mid-30s, with long, curly brown hair and piercing green eyes. She was a professional, a master of her craft. Sophia had been stealing jewels for years, and she had never been caught. She was careful, meticulous, and always planned her heists with precision. Chapter 3. The Heist. Sophia's latest target was a small, family-owned jewelry store in the heart of the city. The store was called the Diamond Exchange, and it was owned by a kindly old man named Mr. Jenkins. Sophia had been casing the store for weeks, studying its security systems and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That moment arrived on a sunny afternoon in late September. Sophia entered the store, dressed in a sleek black jumpsuit and carrying a small bag of tools. She quickly disabled the security cameras and alarms, and then she got to work. Chapter 4. The Investigation. The next morning, Detective Jameson was called to the scene of the crime. He arrived at the store, yawning and stretching, and began to survey the damage. The store had been thoroughly cleaned out, with thousands of dollars worth of jewels stolen. Jameson's partner, a young and ambitious detective named Rodriguez, was already at work, dusting for fingerprints and interviewing witnesses. Jameson watched Rodriguez with a mixture of amusement and annoyance. He knew that Rodriguez was a hard worker, but he also knew that he was a bit of a goody-goody. Jameson preferred to take things easy, to let the evidence come to him rather than going out and looking for it. Chapter 5. The Trail Goes Cold. As the days turned into weeks, the investigation into the jewel heist began to stall. Jameson and Rodriguez had followed up on every lead, every tip, every hint of a clue, but they had come up empty. The trail had gone cold, and Jameson was not surprised. He had never been confident that they would catch the thief, and now it seemed that he had been right. Chapter 6. Sophia's next move. Meanwhile, Sophia was already planning her next heist. She had fenced the jewels from the Diamond Exchange and was now looking for a new target. Sophia's eyes landed on a small, exclusive boutique in the upscale part of town. The boutique was called the Jewel Box, and it was owned by a wealthy socialite named Mrs. Smith. Sophia began to case the boutique, studying its security systems and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chapter 7. The Lazy Cop Strikes Back. As Sophia was planning her next heist, Jameson was sitting at his desk, staring blankly at the wall. He was bored, and he needed something to do. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He would review the security footage from the Diamond Exchange, see if he could spot anything that they had missed. Jameson yawned and stretched, then began to fast forward through the footage. As he watched, he noticed something strange: a woman with long, curly brown hair and piercing green eyes. Chapter 8. The Breakthrough. Jameson's eyes narrowed as he watched the woman. There was something familiar about her, something that he couldn't quite put his finger on. And then, it hit him: the woman was Sophia, the jewel thief. Jameson's heart began to race as he realized the significance of what he had discovered. He had finally found a breakthrough in the case. Chapter 9. The Sting. Jameson and Rodriguez set up a sting operation, using the boutique as bait. They would catch Sophia in the act, and finally bring her to justice. As they waited, Jameson couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had solved the case, and he had done it without breaking a sweat. Chapter 10. The Final Confrontation. Sophia entered the boutique, dressed in a sleek black jumpsuit and